So I'll introduce myself. My name is Drew Glover. I am part of the program staff and intern/volunteer coordinator and coordinator of the Project Regen at the Resource Center for Nonviolence.
Hello, everybody. Wow. It's a powerful microphone. Hello, everyone. My name is CPS Fuldon. I am a new staff member at the Resource Center for Nonviolence. I honestly don't think I need a microphone, but let's utilize the things that we have. It's fine.
Yeah.
It sounds nice. Echo. So I am the administrative and program staff, so I help around with Drew, and I also do some more admin stuff, and I also do some social media work and website work. So I'm really excited to meet all of you and be part of the community.
So at the Resource Center for Nonviolence, we're celebrating our 42nd year this year, I believe. So that got us started in the late 70s, which is crazy to think about with regards to how much work has been put into the center and where it's come from. How many of you here are familiar with the Resource Center for Nonviolence? About half of us. Okay, great. So it used to be housed on Broadway, for those of you that don't know, near the corner of Ocean and Broadway. We moved about 6 years ago over to the new space at 612 Ocean Street, directly across from Hotel Paradox. It's a new building, or it's an old building, I guess, that we just renovated after a whole bunch of great capital campaigns. So we encourage people to come and check it out. We have rotating art shows, a bunch of different activities, programs, and discussion forums about important issues, the idea of nonviolence, and how people can get engaged around nonviolent issues. The question is, what is nonviolence, right? Who here knows what nonviolence is? Hands? Right. So a lot less of us raised our hand there, so we've been to the center, but what is nonviolence? And so it's this really interesting question that we ask people consistently, and then we help to kind of guide the ideas of looking at it from the perspective of people like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and a lot of other historic nonviolent practitioners in the history of our country and of the world. Because with nonviolence, you never become a master of nonviolence, and I think that's what a lot of people may have misconceptions about, is that these people that we see and read about in books are people that have reached the upper echelons of what nonviolence is. But in reality, we're all consistently practicing nonviolence in our own lives and becoming better and better at it. Because nonviolence is not only a thing that you do when you're in the middle of a heated argument or of a conflict, but it's a way of life. It's the way you choose to structure the principles in how you live your life and how you interact with the world around you, the people around you, and the nature around you too. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about with that, but there are some great projects that I work on personally. There are some great projects that we work on together as an organization. But I want to give CP a chance to talk about, her idea of nonviolence and what you took a takeaway with the entire organization.
So I'm fairly new. I've only been here for 2 months. So like Drew said, you're never really done learning about nonviolence, and especially for me, that I'm constantly learning and I'm still a beginner. So I'm like, honestly, my take on it is just full of excitement and just thrill of just trying to learn about what nonviolence is, because a lot of people just think nonviolence is just the absence of violence or the opposite of violence, when really it is exactly what Drew said. It's just kind of a way of life, a way of seeing things, a way of interacting with people in the sense that not trying to escalate conflicts or make things worse, but really trying to compromise and not really have an enemy, but really try to find freedom and justice and peace for all of us throughout the spectrum of any kind of anything that really keeps us separated from one another, and so hopefully unifies us. So that is my personal take on nonviolence, and there's so many ways as well that people can utilize nonviolence through things like this, through art, through artivism, through protesting, through campaigns, through just through certain things like in social media. So it's also the Resource Center also tries to find a way to make nonviolence practical for everyone and make it more accessible to everyone. And that's hopefully to make it a level playing field for all of us.
Yeah, the idea and the history of nonviolence especially is rooted heavily in this idea of love. And so that's why I really enjoyed Christopher's kind of introduction to what we were talking about and the end of his talk right before we came up here, is this idea of unconditional love and what that means. Not this obscure notion of love of, what's the best way to say this? It is this innate feeling or knowledge within yourself that no matter what the conflict is, or no matter what the other person might be doing to you, that they themselves are people, flawed or working through things themselves. And so the goal with nonviolence is not only to be able to express your perspective in a respectful and honest way, but also in a way to be able to hear the other person's perspective and find commonalities between the two of you, so that while you may differ on some larger issues, the core values of community, togetherness, respect, and love are what move us forward. The term you used, nonviolent subversiveness, that was great. You know, it's like nonviolent resistance we hear all the time, but being subversive and this idea of subversiveness. You can see one of our slogans is question authority, right? And so a lot of people have mixed reactions to that. What does that mean, question authority? Does that mean that we totally throw out all this entire idea of authority or what people are saying or a rule of law or the way our society is structured? No. It means questioning what people are doing, asking what those motivations are, and then figuring out if that's the best way to represent the largest population of people and to make sure that those individuals are heard and represented in the political structure. And it comes down to this idea of people power. Right? The idea that when we work together in a nonviolent means towards a goal and refuse to sink down to the level of our oppressors who may be committing violence against us, we not only appeal to their humanity, but the idea with what we see as dramatic direct action, right? Where we put ourselves intentionally in harm's way to raise awareness about an issue, to bring the attention of the greater population who is trying to live out their everyday lives and survive, because we all know that it's really hard to survive, especially in a place like Santa Cruz. So doing things to bring people's attention to the issue and mobilize that support so that they may not be there on the front lines with you addressing the issues, but they'll be there in the background addressing our elected officials, working with legislators, making positive change in those kinds of ways. And so to get these ideas across at the Resource Center, because I know it's a lot, right? Everything I just said, it's like, wow, these are all some pretty interesting concepts for some people, is we put on programs, right? We do these kinds of activities to get your mind working around these topics, open up safe spaces for discussion, and ideally have you leave our center or our programs with a newfound knowledge of ways that you can engage and ways that you can resist with political issues that you may or may not agree with. Right, so some things that I can speak to personally that I'm working on that I'm really proud of is I'm coordinating a cultural exchange trip to Selma, Alabama. We leave on the 27th of March and we come back on the 3rd of April of this year. So we leave in like 2 weeks, which is really exciting. It's 7 university students and 1 student from Cabrillo, myself and 3 other community organizers. And we're flying out to Selma in a partnership with the Selma Center for Nonviolence, Truth, and Reconciliation so that we can help them install a permaculture garden that will offer organic food for the community. Because there's a severe lack of organic food and access to it in Selma. There's also situations where we want to bring out skills like self-care. So we have people that are specialized in yoga, Tai Chi, nutrition. And so we'll be taking those kinds of ideas out there to share with them and helping them with construction. So we'll be building stairs and installing gutters on their nonviolence center and helping with voter registration, engaging with people that were on the ground during the civil rights movement. So not only being able to bring skills to share out there, but also widening the perspective of people that are here in Santa Cruz. I went there last year and it was a culture shock. I will tell you what, it was like going to a completely different country where they don't recycle, there's styrofoam everywhere, and there's a sense of power from the historic relevance of the space. Like, the people there are strong, and it's a matter of bringing these cultures together from the West Coast to the East Coast, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're religious, whether you're spiritual, and coming together around these ideas of community so that then we can come back to our respective communities, so that I said community a lot of times in this sentence, so that we can share it with our community and become a stronger community. Community, right? It's all that kind of idea. So that's one aspect of what we're going to be doing. And if you're interested in learning more about that, we have a report back where the students are going to be actually giving a presentation about the trip with pictures and video on April 14th. And we have a table back there with that lopsided stack of shirts and other kinds of stuff on the table. So not only can one of those shirts be yours and you can be styling like me, but we have these amazing upcoming events forums, so you can check out some of the upcoming things we have going on. What else we got?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on, really. So, as well as the summer report, we have other things like we have monthly nonviolent napkin nights. So that's just like an opportunity for the resource center and its staff members to kind of get in touch with the community and talk about something that matters to us. And it's a potluck, so we bring some food. And this month we are talking about the movie Black Panther and how it has changed society. So it's the full title is The Transformative Social Power of the Black Panther movie. And so I'm personally really excited. I haven't watched the movie yet, so I still have to. But so we're gonna talk about like certain things that have happened because of the movie, how we've how it's changed the perception of African Americans in the media and Hollywood, how it will change the future of things like that and diversity in the media. So that's really exciting, and that will be on March 15th. So this coming Thursday at 6:30. So it's real soon, and it'll be in our community room at the Resource Center. And so it'll be really fun if you come and join our conversation. And on April 4th, we'll also have the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, and we're going to be watching a movie called King, who's a man of peace in a time of war. And so we're going to be watching that movie and also be listening to a speech. I've been to the mountaintop, and we're going to be reflecting on things like that, on his ideas, his basically his life, and how that date is significant. So that will be on April 4th at 6:30 p.m. also at the Resource Center. We have so many other things happening, and we're hoping to do so much more. If you have any suggestions or any questions for us, feel free to email us, talk to us in person, or even just stop by the Resource Center during our hours. It's hours on Monday to Thursday from noon to 4, and just talk to us, because we're just nice people. We're not violent.
There's two more things I want to make sure to tell you before we end. One is Kingian Nonviolent Conflict Reconciliation. Long title, important content, right? So this is what I went to Selma for last year, was to get certified in being able to train in Kingian Nonviolent Conflict Reconciliation. So now every 6 months, we lead a training at the Resource Center that focuses on looking at the philosophies and methodologies around Dr. King, how he became woke, right? In his own mode, his path towards wokeness. Also, the ideas of conflict, the ideas of how to mitigate and deal with conflict, how to address things in your community, how to solve social problems, how to work together, how to acknowledge the humanity in people, getting a clear definition of nonviolence and what that means, what violence means, and then comparing and contrasting your perspectives with everybody else in the groups. It's really exciting. It's 2 days, so get ready for an awesome experience that will span a weekend from May 12th and May 13th. And if you're interested in that, there's a flyer on the table. We encourage you to take a picture of it. You can also send me an email, and I will send you all of the registration information. It's transformative, if I were to choose a word, with regards to if you are not familiar with nonviolence or you're not familiar with Dr. King and the way that he operated. It's an important thing that I think everyone should go through at least once, just so that you have the experience and the perspective. The other thing I want to let you know about is if everything that we've talked about so far seems adult or not so much what your kids would be stoked on, if you have kids or grandkids or brothers or sisters or whatever. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm the lead coordinator for our youth program, which is called Project Regeneration. And so that has the goal of re-engaging youth from middle school to high school age around the concepts of nonviolence and the topics. Right now, we just had our first of 7 sessions over at Georgiana Bruce Kirby, where we're working with a group of students there to address issues that they identify in the community, critically think about them, and then go through the Kingian 6 steps of a nonviolent action so that they can not only identify the issue, they can investigate, educate about the issue, negotiate for change. If that change doesn't happen, take issues into their own hands, and then ideally come out the other end with reconciliation with whatever administration or group of people they choose to focus on, and then moving forward. So if you want to know more about Project Regeneration, about youth engagement, about the monthly events that we have, if you have an idea, like CP said, about something that you'd like to see happen at the Resource Center, or you just want to come and learn more about nonviolence, we have a library, so we're open Monday through Thursday from 12 to 4. You'll be able to come in if you want, sit down, you can read any of our books, which are amazing because we have an intern going through our books right now, and he's cataloging them, and he said that some of the books that we have in our library, he can't find any information about online. So take a second and think about that. We have books that you can't find information about online. That's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm a millennial, and to say that, I can find anything online. But to not be able to find those things means that we have content in there that you may have never heard before, which is pretty exciting to think about as well. We hope that you are inspired to contribute throughout the month, since the Greater Purpose Community Church has been so gracious to donate half of the proceeds for the month to the Resource Center. Like he mentioned earlier, we also have our dance party this evening, so if you're around and want to get down with it, that's great. Or if you want to volunteer, hey-o, because that's how we do it. You think the Resource Center, you think 42 years, you look at the building, it's huge. How many people do they have working on staff? We have 4 1/4 part-time people. Part-time. So that means we have 4 people that work 23 hours a week and 1 person that works 12 hours a week. And we have to run an entire center and do all these programs that we're talking about. So that means that the majority of the work is only able to be completed because of the support of volunteers, because you're there helping us make those phone calls or coordinate things or design leaflets or hang out with people and talk in the community. So we'll be here for a little bit whenever the service is over. Thank you again for the opportunity to come speak. Is there anything else you want to let people know?
No. Thank you so much for listening. I think we have one more event on the 20th, but then that's fine.
Yeah, read about it on the paper,
Yeah,
right?
we have so many other things. Just come say hi.
Yeah, my name's Drew. This is CP. Thank you again for
Thank
the Resource
you.
Center.
Just walk away with it.
I would like to close with this benediction. It means a lot to me personally. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you wherever it may send you. May it guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storms. May it bring you home rejoicing at the wonders that it shows you. May it bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors. Grace and peace to you.